Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Jimmy and welcome back to That's What I Call Soccer. In today's video, we're going to be giving a reaction to Game Week 4, where we look at my team and how they did in the previous game week, and then we'll be previewing Game Week 5, where we look at some potential matchups to target. We'll look at the most informed players from each position. I'll give you my advice on some players you should buy, some players that are toss-ups, and some players that you should avoid. And then finally, we'll take a look at my team heading into Game Week 5. So starting off with my team last week, I did really great. It was my best week in quite a while in MLS Fantasy. I had a 118 overall. Starting with my goalkeeper, I had Joe Bendick from Philadelphia on my bench, just a cheap option starting for Philadelphia in replace for hurt Andre Blake. They did end up giving up 3 goals on the road to Montreal, who had yet to score yet. It was really disappointing, so he only had 2 points. I then went with Yarborough, who was my other goalkeeper option in the Keeperoo, and he only had 2 points as well. So it was a bit disappointing from the goalkeepers. In defense, I went with Philadelphia's Olivier Mbazo. He is the cheapest option in that Philadelphia defense, and I really kind of rated them high for a clean sheet opportunity against Montreal, even being on the road. But as I spoke about, they gave up 3 goals, and Mbazo only has a 3. And then my other starting defender was Maxime Chanot from NYC. They were at home to DC. I really like New York City at home on that baseball field. Not a lot of teams beat New York City when they're playing at Citi Field or Yankee Stadium. And while they did win, they did give up a few goals to DC, so just a 2 for Chanel. My other starting defender was a $4 million scrub from RSL. I had him in my starting lineup to run the auto-roo with 2 defenders on my bench. And the 2 defenders I went with on my bench were Matt Miazga from FC Cincinnati, who only got a 4. He did outscore the other defenders in my starting lineup, so it would have been nice to get his points as opposed to the other 2 defenders. But Caleb Wiley, who did end up subbing in with 17 points. He had a goal, a clean sheet, and an assist. He now has 3 goals and 2 assists and 2 clean sheets in his last 2 games. He is a really cheap defender for Atlanta, and he's playing as an attacker, so I thought it would be a good choice, especially at $5 million last week, and it worked out really well. In the midfield, I went with New York Santi Rodriguez. Like I said, they were at home against DC. I like them at home, and Santi Rodriguez pulled through with a goal and 11 points. Next, I went with Edward Lovin from St. Louis. St. Louis kept their form going. They are 4-0, which I don't think anyone predicted, but Lovin only had 3 points this week, so a little bit disappointing. Next, we'll talk about Brugman from LA Galaxy. I like having players in one of the later games or the last game in the week, and I thought Brugman was a pretty decent choice in midfield. He's cheaper than Ricky Puig, and he gets a lot of bonus points, even if he doesn't score. And so a 5-pointer for Brugman was, I'll take that. My 4th midfielder was Hector Herrera from Houston. Houston was at home. They get their first win. Herrera gets his first MLS goal with 11 points to go with it. And my last midfielder, I feel like if you did well this week, it was because you had Almada, and more specifically because you captained Almada. 2 goals, 2 assists, probably the goal of the MLS season already in Game Week 4 with that free kick, for a total of 52 points for Almada with the armband on him for me this week. At forward, I went with St. Louis' João Klaus. He had 7 points in each of the first 3 games, and he came through with a goal and 8 points here. My other forward was Dejan Joveljic from LA Galaxy, and he was very close to having a big game. Almost scored in the first half, and then he did score in the second half, but had it called back for, in my opinion, a controversial handball. So just a 4-pointer from Joveljic. And then my only other player to talk about was Denny Bouanga on the bench. He did play the first game of the week against Seattle, which was a 0-0 draw. It was really disappointing. Just a 2-pointer from Bouanga. But 118 points overall for this week. It was the 386th best score of the week, and it's knocked my overall rank up to 568 out of just under 15,000 players. And at the Union League, I'm currently sitting at 29th out of just about 650 players. So really good week. Took a big step up, went up just about 600 places or so, 500 places. And yeah, saw a pretty good price rise as well. So really happy with that week. Hope I can continue it this week. To keep the video short, I'm not going to go into the best and worst players from each position this week, but I do want to go over the dream team so you can get kind of a pretty decent view of who did play well last week. And then later on in the video, we'll go over some players that are in some really good form. So hopefully you still will get a pretty decent idea of some players that should be on your radar for Game Week 5. But the dream team for Game Week 4 coming in with 179 total points. In goal, you had Stefan Fry, 10 points, a 0-0 draw against LAFC at home. He did make a save or two. So yeah, 10 points was good enough to see him as the best goalie in Game Week 4. In defense, we got New England's Brandon Bai with 11 points, Toronto's Richie Laryea with 12 points, New England's Dwan Jones with 13 points, and then Atlanta United's Caleb Wiley with a goal, an assist, and a clean sheet for a total of 17 points. In midfield, we have Hector Herrera, who, as I said before, scored his first MLS goal. Then we've got Klitsch from DC United chipping in 2 assists on the road at NYCFC for a total of 13 points. FC Cincinnati's Junior Moreno scored 2 goals for a total of 15 points, and Thiago Almada, 2 goals, 2 assists for a total of 26 points with the armband on, a total of 52 points, your star of Game Week 4. And to wrap up the dream team, 2 forwards that played in the same match, Romeo Kyoto from Montreal, 2 goals against Philadelphia for 12 points, and then Mikel Iwa, 2 goals for Philadelphia against Montreal for a total of 13 points. All right, so now we're going to start previewing for Game Week 5. All matches do take place on Saturday, March 25th, starting at 4:30 p.m. with Portland hosting LA Galaxy. And Game Week 5 will end on Saturday with 2 10:30 p.m. games with LAFC hosting Dallas and San Jose hosting Toronto. Potential matchups to target this week, I think, are Philadelphia hosting Orlando at 7:30. Both teams' depth are going to be tested this week as both teams have a lot of players out from international duties and injuries and suspensions. But I really like Philadelphia's depth, and I think that they're going to be okay defensively, and I think that there's going to be a goal or two from them to be had. And so I think that this is a pretty good matchup to target, especially on the defensive side. Our next game is Austin hosting Colorado at 8:30 p.m. This game is at Austin, and while Austin hasn't looked great defensively, Colorado has looked really bad offensively, only scoring 1 goal so far, and Colorado is missing a few key pieces from their roster moving forward. So I think offensively and defensively, there are some players from Austin that look like good shoo-ins this week. My last 2 matchups to target are those 10:30 p.m. games with LAFC hosting Dallas and San Jose hosting Toronto. I think in the LAFC and Dallas game, LAFC is off to a really great start this season, especially at home. They seem to be scoring lots of goals, and even with Denny Bouanga out on international duty, I think they've got the depth in the forward position to put up some pretty good numbers here. And Dallas hasn't looked too good on the road this year or in past. And then I always really like San Jose because they do have that chaotic factor to them. I don't think I'm targeting them from a defensive point of view this week, but Toronto's defense looks a little shaky, and San Jose has the ability to score goals, especially at home. So I think there's a few different options from San Jose to throw in your team this week. There's no teams on a double this week, but Montreal is on a bye, so if you're looking for cheap options to throw in your team that are not going to play for your autoroos, your keeperoos, and your switcheroos, Montreal's your team this week. Now, this is something that's really important to this week. There are a lot of players missing because of international duty. I think it's upwards of like 80 or 90 players. Some of them are more important than others, especially from a fantasy point of view. But that being said, teams are going to be affected. So I am not going to go over these. If you guys want to check them out, feel free to pause it and check them out. And this is as accurate as I can get it. Again, there are so many people that are in and out of the lineup. But here's everything from international duty to suspensions to injuries that I can find. And so I hope that you guys can find this useful. I think knowing this type of thing will be really useful this week in gaining some edge against players who aren't as keyed in onto all the players that are out on international duty. So before I start giving you some opinions on some players that you should bring in this week and show you my team, I do want to go over the players that are most informed from each position. I'm not going to go too in depth into each player's stats this week, but I do want to share with you who is playing well in each position in the last 3 games. So each of these players and their stats will be representative of the last 3 games. I know I do want to make this clear that this informed players list is players that are going to be available for this week. So players like Thiago Almada, Almada aren't on this because they're on international duty. So again, these are just players that are available for Game Week 5 that aren't on international duty, that aren't injured, that aren't suspended. These are the best 5 from each position over the last 3 games that are available in this coming game week. In goalkeeper at number 5, we've got Inter Miami's Drake Callender with a total of 18 points. He has 15 saves over the last 3 games, and he's at home against Chicago this week. I think that's a pretty good option and someone that you might want to keep in mind. At number 4, we got Seattle Sounders Stephen Fry with 19 points. Number 3, LAFC's John McCarthy with 21 points. Number 2 is Nashville's Joe Willis, also with 21 points. And number 1 is Georgi Petrovic, also coming in with 19 points. Something to note about Georgi Petrovic is, likewise of Drake Callender, is he gets a lot of saves. He's got 16 saves in just the last 3 games. In defense at number 5, we've got New England's Dwan Jones with 26 points. He has 2 clean sheets over the last 3 games, and he does have 2 assists as well. He does get a few bonus points as well with 7 over the last 3 games. At number 4, we've got Austin's John Gallagher. While Austin doesn't have that good of a defense, John Gallagher seems to be right in the middle of everything offensively for Austin right now. In the last 3 games, he's got a clean sheet, a goal, an assist, and 8 bonus points for a total of 27 points. At number 3, we've got Seattle Sounders' Alex Roldan. He has 2 clean sheets in the last 3 games with 2 assists for a total of 27 points. At number 2, another New England guy, Brandon Bye. He has 2 clean sheets, a goal, and an assist with 6 bonus points on top of that for a total of 29 points in the last 3 games. And the number 1 defender for the last 3 games is Atlanta United's Caleb Wiley, who, as I've said, is playing in an attacking position, is pretty cheap at only $5.5 million. And in the last 3 games, he's got 2 clean sheets, 3 goals, an assist, a bonus point for a total of 39 points. In midfield at number 5, we've got DC United's Matthias Klitsch. In the last 3 games, he hasn't scored, but he does have 2 assists and 9 bonus points for a total of 20 points. Number 4 is FC Dallas's Alan Velasco. He does have 2 goals and an assist in the last 3 games for a total of 21 points. Number 3 was someone that was really interesting to me in Columbus Crew's Aiden Morris. He doesn't have a goal and only has 1 assist in the last 3 games, but he does have 13 bonus points for a total of 22 points in the last 3 games. Number 2 is San Jose's Christian Espinoza. He has a goal, an assist, and 8 bonus points in the last 3 games for a total of 22 points. And number 1, we have Hector Herrera getting his first MLS goal in the last match week, having an assist, and 15 bonus points on top of that for a total of 22 points in the last 3 games. And to wrap up the most informed forwards, at number 5, we've got Toronto's Bernadeschi. He has a goal and 2 assists in the last 3 games for a total of 19 points. At number 4, we've got FC Cincinnati's Brenner, who has a goal, an assist, and 6 bonus points for a total of 20 points. Number 3, we have St. Louis's Joao Klaus, who, like St. Louis, just keeps it going. He's got 2 goals and assists and 3 bonus points for a total of 22 points. Number 2 is FC Dallas's Jesus Ferreira with 3 goals and 2 bonus points for a total of 23 bonus points in the last 3 games. And number 1, this one was really interesting to me as well, Luis Araujo from Atlanta. He's gotten a lot of criticism, and it looks like he's finally starting to accept part of that responsibility. He's got 2 goals, an assist, and 4 bonus points in the last 3 games for a total of 23 points. Right on. So now I'll give you my opinion on some players you should definitely buy, some players that are toss-ups, and some players you should avoid for Game Week 5. At goalkeeper, my 3 that you should definitely buy are Callender from Inter Miami, who's at home against Chicago, John McCarthy from LAFC, who's at home against Dallas, and Georgi Petrovic from New England, who's on the road against DC United. My toss-up goalkeepers, I've got a really cheap option for you in Joe Bendik, $4.8 million, still starting for injured Andre Blake. He will be at home against his former team of Orlando City this week. Another toss-up, I've got Nashville's Joe Willis, who will be at home against FC Cincinnati. And then my last toss-up is Brad Stuver at home against Colorado, who has been abysmal on the road the last couple of years. They have only scored 1 goal this year. And even though Austin's defense has been bad and they're missing some pieces from international duty, I think that is a pretty good good pick this week. Even when Austin's defense tends to give up goals, Brad Stuver ends up getting some bonus points. So that's a decent pick this week, I think. And then some goalkeepers to avoid. I'm going to go with Toronto's Sean Johnson, who's on the road against San Jose. I think San Jose is going to put up goals at home. And then some other goalkeepers to avoid. I'm going to go with Yarborough from Colorado. He is a good goalkeeper, and he has the ability to keep Colorado in games at times. But with the people that they're missing, both to injury and international duty, and being on the road, I think Yarborough is someone to avoid this week. And then my last goalkeeper to avoid is Martin Posh from Dallas. They will be on the road to LAFC, and I think LAFC is just going to score goals even with Denny Bouanga and the likes of Cifuentes missing to international duty. In defense, my should buys are Brandon Bye from New England, Caleb Wiley from Atlanta United, who's just scoring everything. He is playing in that attacking position and is only $5.5 million. And then John Gallagher from Austin. I think Austin has a pretty decent opportunity for a clean sheet this week, and Gallagher's been in the middle of everything for them offensively. So that's a really good pick to me, even if he is a little bit more expensive at $7.3 million. Some toss-ups are Walker Zimmerman from Nashville at home. Great defense, Nashville, but they are playing FC Cincinnati, who I think are starting to find it. Hopefully, Costa's starting to find his thing after starting on the bench last week. He came in and had that great assist. So he's a toss-up. Another toss-up for me is Alex Rodon from Seattle. Seattle's missing some players due to international duty, and they will be on the road to SKC. SKC finally broke the seal and got their first goal. They had been getting lots of chances in their game, so I think it's been coming, and I think some more goals are going to keep coming. So for that reason, Rodon on the road is a toss-up for me. One that I wish that I could fit in my team and afford this week was Julian Gressel. Minnesota is missing so many players, and even being on the road, I think Vancouver has a pretty decent chance at a clean sheet. And even if they don't get a clean sheet, Gressel's playing in kind of a midfield position, so he, I think, is going to have a chance for some points this week. But being $9.2 million, I just can't fit him in my team this week. And then some defenders to avoid. This one was kind of hard because a lot of the people I would have picked were gone to international duty anyway. But I've got Zach McGraw from Portland. They will be at home against LA, but Portland's defense just looks really bad right now. I've got Thiago Martins from NYC FC. They will be on the road to Houston, and I think Houston is kind of a little bit of a dark horse right now. So I think there's going to be some goals there. And then Matt Miazga from FC Cincinnati on the road to Nashville. I think it's finally going to be the game where we see Hani Mukhtar return to MVP form. So I'm staying away from FC Cincinnati defense this week. In midfielders or players to buy, I've got Hector Herrera from Houston at home against NYC. I think he's going to play well. I think he might have a goal in him, but either way, he gets those bonus points. I've got Christian Espinoza from San Jose, who will be at home against Toronto. I think Toronto's defense is really weak, so I really like Espinoza, and he may even get the captaincy armband for me this week. And then I'm going to go with Sebastian Driussi. He hasn't gotten off to a great start this season as Austin has as a whole, but being against Colorado, who's got such a weak defense, especially on the road, I like Driussi this week. My toss-ups are Edward Lovin from St. Louis. I really like Lovin, and you know, St. Louis looks really good, but how long can St. Louis keep this going? I wonder if on the road to RSL is the week that we see them kind of hit their first speed bump, so that's why he's a toss-up for me this week. Then I'm going to go with Hani Mukhtar. I think he's a great pick, especially being at home against FC Cincinnati, who are going to be missing some players due to international duty. I think that Mukhtar, like I said before, could show his MVP form for the first time this season at home. And then my other toss-up is Matthias Klick at $9 million at home against New England. New England's defense is really great, and I think I probably would have had Klick in my team this week if I didn't have New England defender on my team. And then players to avoid from the midfield. For some reason, so many people have Roger Espinoza from SKC. I think it's because he's only $4.9 million, but he's just not going to get you that many points. And they're playing against Seattle this week. I think that you can save some money elsewhere to upgrade to someone who's going to get you some more points, I think. Other avoids are Colorado's Cole Bassett on the road to Austin, and then Paul Arriola from FC Dallas on the road to LAFC. And to wrap it up for the buy toss-up avoids at should buys for the forwards, I've got San Jose's Jeremy Ebobisse. Now, he didn't score, and San Jose didn't score on the road to St. Louis last week, so I'm looking for a bounce back from both Ebobisse and San Jose this week, and so I think he's someone that's a pretty decent option. My other should buy is Mikael Uwa from Philadelphia. He's still relatively cheap at $7.7 million. He had a brace last week, his first 2 goals of the season. I think he's going to be off the mark and running now. He will be playing at home against Orlando, who has played pretty well defensively, but I think that Uwa's got a goal in him this week. And then my other buy is Carlos Vela, and while I personally won't buy him because you guys know how I feel about his rotation and coming off early, I think at home against Dallas, with Denny Bouanga not being in the lineup from international duty, Vela is sure to start, and I think he should probably have some sort of attacking return for him. Some toss-ups, I'm going to go with St. Louis's Klaus. I'll also go with Atlanta United's Araujo. Both of those will be on the road to RSL and Columbus. Araujo is playing really well right now, but I don't know how everything's going to look without Thiago Almada being in that team, so he's a toss-up for me this week. And then my other toss-ups are Opoku or Biuk from LAFC, both pretty cheap forwards that I think are going to step in place for Denny Bouanga. I'm not sure who's going to play where, so just watch the lineups. Both of them are under $8 million, yeah, I think those are some pretty decent toss-ups. And then players to avoid, I've got to go with Brandon Vasquez, especially on the road to Nashville. Hasn't looked good this year, hasn't got off the mark, and I don't think this is going to be the week that he gets that first goal. I'm also going to go with Jordan Morris from Seattle, being on the road to SKC. SKC looks okay defensively, and I think that just Seattle's going to have enough pieces missing this week that Morris is going to have a tough time. And then my other forward to avoid is Joseph Martinez from Inter Miami. He just, I don't know if he's got it. And unfortunately, Inter Miami just doesn't have any other options to go with right now because of injuries and such. So he's an avoid for me. Cool. So we'll wrap it up with my team now. Starting with my goalkeepers. My starting goalkeeper, I'm going to go with LAFC's John McCarthy, who plays in that 10:30 p.m. slot. On my bench, I have Joe Bendik from Philadelphia, who's playing against Orlando. If Bendik does well against Orlando, then obviously I'll just take out McCarthy, and I've got some money to make some switches elsewhere, which I'm kind of already eyeing some players that I could upgrade, but I think there's some good cover there. Now, I have contemplated trying to get Calendar from Inter Miami into my team, but it's just not working out the way I want it to, so we'll have to see. I have an idea, but it depends on some starting lineups, so it could be a game time decision on if I go with Calendar for my other goalie. In defense, I've got New England's Brandon Bai, who will be on the road to DC. He is one of my only players that are playing on the road this week, but I like New England's clean sheet chances, and I like Brandon Bai's attacking return possibilities. So I think he's a pretty good pick. And then my other starting defender, I've got John Gallagher from Austin. Pretty similar to Brandon Bai. I think he's got a pretty decent clean sheet opportunity at home against Colorado, but he's got a lot of attacking potential as well. So I'm happy to have him in my team on my starting lineup right now. My only other defender, I've got a $4.0 million scrub from Montreal who's on a bye, and I'm going to run that with an auto route with 2 defenders on the bench. Those 2 being Nate Harriel from Philadelphia. I think he's going to start in the right back position, but I have enough money that if it is Olivier Mbaizo, I can switch to Mbaizo. So it's going to be either one of those 2 from the Philadelphia backline. And then I'm going to go with the hot man from Atlanta, playing as an attacker, listed as a defender, $5.5 million defender, Caleb Wiley. He's got 3 goals, I think 1 or 2 assists in the last 3 games, and a couple clean sheets as well. So I think at $5.5 million, even being on the road I think he's got a pretty decent chance against Columbus, who's missing some players as well. So that's my defense. In the midfield, I'm going to go with Sebastian Driussi from Austin. They are at home against Colorado. Colorado is not good, so I think that's a really good pick. I'm also going to go with Hani Mukhtar at home against FC Cincinnati. I've said it a few times in this video, but I think Mukhtar is going to return to his MVP status for the first time this year in this game against Cincinnati. I don't know what it is. I just have that feeling. I also have Hector Herrera from Houston. They'll be at home against NYCFC. I've got Edward Lovin from St. Louis, who will be on the road to RSL. Now, this is someone that I might change. I think that Joaquin Torres is going to start in the 10 position for Philadelphia, and I actually kind of really like that pick, but I already have 3 Philadelphia players. So what I'm kind of thinking, if I can figure it out, and that's what I'm struggling with right now, is maybe I go with someone like Joaquin Torres in midfield, and then maybe I can drop someone else to a lower price player and fit Calendar in my second goalkeeper position as opposed to Bendik, and then I'll have 3 Philadelphia players. But like I said, right now I just can't make it work with the money I have. So right now I've got Lovin in there. And then my last midfielder, I've got Christian Espinoza from San Jose at home against a Toronto defense that I just don't rate, especially in games against San Jose, which can always be chaotic. Jamiro Montero won't be in the lineup, so I think Espinoza will have his handprints all over this game. And right now I've got the armband, the captaincy armband on Espinoza as well, which worked out well for me the last time I put it on Espinoza. And then my forwards in my starting 11, I've got Jeremy Ebobisse from San Jose as well. Again, I think that Toronto's defense doesn't look great, and Jeremy Ebobisse scores goals, so I'm happy to have him in my team. And then I'm also going to go with Philadelphia's Mikael Uhre. He is the lone Philadelphia striker in the squad this week, with Julian Carranza being out from a red card, and while Daniel Gazdag is a midfielder, he is the other goal scorer, so he's on international duty. So I think Uhre's got a pretty good chance to score, and I think he might be on PKs as well. And for that, I think Uhre's a pretty decent pick this week, being at home against Orlando. And then my last forward right now in there, I've got Opoku. I may drop him for Buick if I see that Buick is starting. Gives me some more money to maybe throw in another defender if the 2 defenders on my bench don't hit. In place of the guy from Montreal who's not going to play last minute. But yeah, as of right now, I think this looks pretty good. I'm at a team value of 112.7 million with 0.7 million in my bank still. And I'm feeling pretty good for this week. So I'm just looking forward to keeping it going and seeing how game week 5 pans out with all the people out on international duty. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for my shortened version of my game week 4 reactions and my game week 5 preview and team reveal. I hope everyone has a good weekend. I will be out at the Philadelphia game, which looks like there's going to be a bunch of rain, so hopefully there won't be too many lineup things that I have to adjust last minute with the service and being out at the rain. But good luck this weekend. I hope to have a video early out next week for a game week 5 reaction. I kind of dropped the ball on that this week. Hope to have that out on Sunday or Monday. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe before you go, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.